Your GLP-1 medication, it stopped working, and I'm gonna give you the super easy framework so you can fix it. You've been on it for months, and maybe you saw great results, but now, nothing. The scale won't budge. You're thinking about increasing your dose, or worse, you're wondering if the medication just doesn't work for you anymore. What if I told you that that's not the problem? It's not the medication. What if it's that you've just been making injection mistakes this whole time? Mistakes that are silently sabotaging your results. And guess what? The fixes that I'm gonna give you, they literally take seconds. And that's what we're covering today. I'm gonna show you exactly what you're doing wrong and how you can fix it immediately. I'm Dr. Jones, DC, and I lead the coaching department at our nationwide GLP-1 and peptide clinic. And I've helped thousands of patients optimize these protocols for their lasting weight loss. This is personal for me because I lost over 100 pounds myself, and now I work alongside our medical team, helping people like you do exactly the same. Here's what most people don't realize. There's a hidden sabotage that builds up over time, and it blocks your medication from absorbing properly. And if you're on Mounjaro or Zepbound, where you can inject, could be costing you up to 15% of your medication dose. And then there are specific rules for your exact pin that you've probably not been following. So let's fix all of this right now and get you getting some results fast. I'm talking easy mode. So the hidden sabotage, it's called lipohypertrophy, but just forget that word. Think of it like scar tissue that actually forms underneath your skin. You see, here's what happens. Every time you inject into the same spot, you create a tiny bit of trauma to that tissue. You do it once, no big deal, but you do it week after week after week in the same spot, that tissue starts to change. It gets rubbery, it gets thick, and here's the problem. It can impact the absorption of the medication. And this is one of the leading mechanical issues of GLP-1 medication plateaus, and nobody talks about this. You're paying a lot of money for this medication, and a chunk of it isn't even making it into your bloodstream because you've been injecting into this damaged tissue. In our clinic, this is one of the first things that we check when somebody says that their medication stopped working. And I can't tell you how many times that we found this was the problem. So how do you know if you have it? So you feel around the usual injection spots. If you notice any areas that feel thicker, firmer, or rubbery compared to the surrounding tissue, that's likely scar tissue. And that's where you need to stop injecting. Okay, so here's the fix, and it's so simple. Think of each injection region as having 4 quadrants. Your abdomen, 4 quadrants around your belly button. Your thigh, 4 quadrants on each one. Even your arm, it has quadrants, and you can use those. Week number 1, you inject into quadrant number 1. Week 2, 2, and week 3, and so on and so forth. And then you start over. That's it. You're rotating through these quadrants, never hitting the same tissue twice in a month. The spots that you used before, they get time to heal, and you can maintain consistent absorption of your medications week after week. Now here's the key point. You can stay in the same region. You don't need to bounce between belly and thigh every single week and then arm. Just rotate within that region using the quadrant system. Pick your favorite spot and work the grid. But here's where it gets interesting, because where you inject, which region that you choose, actually matters differently depending on which medication you're on. And I bet you didn't know that one. If you're on Mounjaro or Zepbound, there's data that you need to know that could be costing you up to 15% of your dose. Now, if you're on Mounjaro or Zepbound, which is tirzepatide, listen up, because there's some pharmacokinetic data from Eli Lilly, basically information about how the medication works, that most people have never seen. When you inject tirzepatide into your abdomen, your body absorbs about 24 to 25% of the medication. But when you inject to your thigh, we're talking only 21 to 22%. That's a 10 to 15% difference in how much the drug is actually getting into your bloodstream. Think about what that means. If you've been injecting into your thigh each week, you've been getting less medication than you paid for. You might be on 10 milligrams thinking that you need to go up to 12.5, but really, you might need to switch to your abdomen. Now, here's the trade-off, and I want to be honest about this. Some people experience more nausea when they inject into their abdomen. The faster absorption can hit harder. So if you're nausea prone, or this has been a major problem for you, the thigh becomes your safety valve, slower release and more gentle onto your system. But if you're tolerating the medication well and you're frustrated that the results have been slowed down, try moving to the abdomen. Give it 3 to 4 weeks. You might be shocked at the difference. Now, if you're realizing that the injection technique that you've been doing might be the reason why you plateaued, or you're not sure whether the abdomen or thigh is right for your situation, we offer these free discovery calls where our patient advocates can assess your specific protocol and help you figure out what's actually going on. You can either text the number on the screen, or you can check out the link in the description if you want to explore that. But first, let me tell you about the other side of this, because if you're on Ozempic or Wegovy, the rules are completely different. And there's a hack that's been floating around the internet that I need to set the record straight on. If you're on Ozempic or Wegovy, which is semaglutide, here's what you need to know. The FDA has looked into this, and their conclusion is that injection sites are clinically equivalent, meaning the abdomen, the thigh, the arm, the difference in absorption is about 3%. That's considered negligible. So unlike tirzepatide, where the site genuinely matters, when it comes to semaglutide, you have more flexibility. Now here's where it gets interesting. You've probably seen people online saying, inject into your thigh to reduce nausea, and I want to be completely transparent with you about what the evidence says. For tirzepatide, Mounjaro Zepbound, the thigh nausea reduction, it's actually well established. The slower absorption from the thigh injection creates a more gentle curve, and patients report less nausea. That's real. But for semaglutide, the thigh hack is mostly anecdotal. There aren't clinical trials proving that it works the same way. So does that mean it doesn't work? No, we're not saying that. It means that the evidence isn't as strong. And some of our patients swear by it, others notice no difference. So I just wanted you to understand that. Now, if this difference between what's proven versus what's anecdotal is starting to open up your eyes here, hit that subscribe button now, because we put out 4 videos a week breaking down exactly how this kind of stuff works, what's real and what's just hearsay, and it also helps out the channel big time. So go ahead and hit that button right now. Now, speaking of what actually works, here's my recommendation if nausea is crushing you on Ozempic or Wegovy. Try the thigh for 2 to 4 weeks. It's low risk, it might help, and in worst case, you're just rotating your injection site, which you should be doing anyways. But don't expect miracles here, and definitely don't assume that switching sites will reset your medication or break a plateau. We're gonna talk about that. That's a myth that we need to bust, and it's coming up. But first though, I wanna hear from you. Let me know in the comments which injection site you've been using and which one that you've noticed has given you the best results. Have you noticed any major differences when you switch? I read each comment and I'll jump in there and respond with typically what we're seeing from our clinic. Okay, so let me bust some real myths here, because there's a lot of bad advice floating around about GLP-1 meds, and some of it could actually be hurting your results. Okay, number 1, injecting into your belly burns belly fat. I see this everywhere, and it's completely false. GLP-1 medications, they work systemically. They go into your bloodstream and affect your entire body. Where you inject has zero impact on where you lose fat. None. Your body decides where the fat comes off based on genetics and hormones, not where you stuck the needle. Okay, myth number 2, massaging the injection site to help absorption. Please don't do this. Rubbing or massaging the site can actually damage the tissue after how the medication absorbs and actually contribute to the scar tissue problem that we talked about. Inject, hold, remove, done. No rubbing. Okay, myth number 3, and this one's important, switch injection sites to reset your receptors and break a plateau. See, here's the truth. Changing where you inject doesn't reset receptor sensitivity. There's no physiological basis for that. Now, your body can become desensitized to GLP-1s over time. Yes, that's real. Although controversial, I think that's real. But the solution isn't switching from belly to thigh. The solution is a structured medication reset, titrating down, taking time off, and restarting. That's a whole different conversation, something that we are known for, that my medical providers do every single day. Now, if you want me to do a deep dive video where we break down this exact process, the medication reset, because I get asked this all the time, let me know in the comments. It's been already requested. If that would be helpful to you, it'll be coming up in our rotation here pretty soon. So why do some people feel like switching sites worked for them? There's 2 reasons. 1, they escaped the scar tissue that they didn't know they had. Or 2, they were on Mounjaro and they switched to the abdomen, and now they're getting 15% more medication. That's not a receptor reset, that's just better absorption. Okay, myth number 4, you have to eat before injecting. False. You can inject on an empty stomach. Food timing doesn't affect absorption. Inject where it's convenient for you. Now let's talk about the actual injection technique, because there are 3 mistakes that I see constantly, and one of them might be why you're not getting your full dose. Okay, mistake number 1, pulling the needle out too early. This one is huge, and it's different depending on which pin that you're using. If you're using Wegovy, you need to hold the needle in your skin for 10 seconds after you hear the click. 10 seconds, count it out. If you're using Ozempic, it's 6 seconds. Different pins, different hold times. So why does this matter? Because if you pull out too early, the medication can actually leak back out of the injection site. You see that little droplet on your skin and you think nothing of it, but that droplet could be a meaningful portion of your dose. You're literally leaving medication on the table. Mistake number 2, pinching wrong. Again, this depends on your pin. Wegovy specifically says do not pinch the skin. You inject straight in without creating a skin fold. Ozempic, it depends on your body composition. If you're leaner, a pinch might help, but if you have more subcutaneous fat, you probably don't need to. Read your specific pin's instructions. They're different for a reason. Mistake number 3, injecting cold medication. If your pen has been in the refrigerator and you inject it immediately, it may hurt more. The cold liquid causes more discomfort and can even affect how the medication disperses in the tissues. The fix is simple. Take your pen out about 30 minutes before you inject, let it get to room temperature, same medication, way less pain. If you want me to do a complete video breaking down our nausea elimination protocol, everything that we do in our clinic to help patients crush that GLP-1 side effect, let me know in the comments, say nausea video if that would be helpful to you. Okay, so now let's rapid fire through some easy upgrade techniques. These are little things that have zero effort behind them, but can make your injection experience way better. Upgrade number 1, inject on Friday. If nausea or fatigue hits you after your shot, you want that happening on the weekend where you can rest. Not on Monday before a big meeting during the week. Friday injection means Saturday recovery. Okay, number 2, let the alcohol dry. After you swab the injection site, wait 15 seconds before you inject. If you go in while it's wet, the alcohol can sting and irritate the tissue. 15 seconds, just count it out. Number 3, hydrate before you inject. Drink about 16 ounces of water with some electrolytes about an hour before your shot. Proper hydration helps with medication distribution and can reduce that heavy, sluggish feeling that people get after injecting. It's not that the research shows specific timing of hydration, it's just that you're probably not getting enough water, and I just want to make sure that you get it in. Number 4, and this one's a game changer, if you're getting your medication from a compounding pharmacy and it comes in a vial, here's an ER nurse trick. After you wipe the rubber stopper with alcohol, smell the stopper before you draw. You should still be able to smell alcohol. If you smell nothing, or worse, something is off, that stopper may have been compromised. Don't use it. This simple sniff test has caught contamination that visual inspection missed. Upgrade number 5, visual inspection for contaminated medications. Before every injection, hold that vial up to the light. It should be crystal clear. If you see cloudiness, particles floating, or any discoloration at all, do not inject that. Cloudiness can mean bacterial contamination or degraded medication. When in doubt, throw it out. If you're using compounded GLP-1s, let me give you a solid warning here. This is the #1 cause of ER visits from compounded GLP-1s. Units are not milligrams. When you're drawing from a vial, you're measuring in units on the syringe, but your dose is prescribed in milligrams. These are completely different measurements, and the conversion depends on the concentration of your specific vial. If you don't do the math right, you can inject 5 times or more your intended dose, and I've seen it happen. It's dangerous. You can end up in the hospital or the ER or worse. If your provider hasn't walked you through exactly how to calculate your dose from your specific vial concentration, get that clarified before your next injection, please. Okay, so here's the thing. Everything that I just showed you, the quadrant rotation, the site selection, the hold times, the technique fixes, these are easy wins. They take seconds and they cost nothing. But injection technique is just one piece of the puzzle. If you're still plateaued after fixing these mistakes, or you're not sure whether your dose is right, or you're worried about scar tissue that's already formed, or you just want someone to audit your entire protocol from top to bottom, that's exactly what we do. Text the number on the screen, or you can check out the link in the description if you want to book a free discovery call. You'll get to speak to one of our patient advocates who are going to go through your history, what you've tried, what's working, what's not, and what your long-term goals actually look like. They'll give you a feel for what it's like to work with me, our coaches, and our medical team, and they're going to walk through programs and pricing so that you can see what long-term success with real support could actually look like. Fix your technique first, and when you're ready for the full picture, we're here, we got you. If you guys want to supercharge your results and you want to get an idea of what we do with our patients, check out this video right there where I break down the ways to double your GLP-1 results. We'll see you guys later.